China, the newfound friend of Africa. China is Africa's largest bilateral trade partner and a major investor in infrastructure, construction, energy, and retail. In fact, China-Africa trade reached over $280 billion just last year, making it the highest among all Africa's trade partners. But China isn't just trading with Africa, ladies and gentlemen. China is in Africa. The year 2003 was the first time China introduced its style of wholesale retail supermarket in Africa. This was opened in Johannesburg, South Africa, and later replicated in other parts of South Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, then from South Africa, they went to Zimbabwe in 2013 in Harare. Then in 2019, they launched their establishment in Accra, Ghana, and started moving quickly to other parts of the country. By 2023, they expanded to Nairobi, Kenya, and Congo, Brazzaville. Last year, 2024, they entered Kampala in Uganda. So far, they have about 7 outlets in Kenya, they have 7 in Ghana, they have 3 in South Africa, and they have 2 in Zimbabwe, 2 in Uganda, and 1 in Congo, Brazzaville. Quickly and strategically, they are taking over the wholesale and retail industry in Africa, one country at a time. So, as it stands now, ladies and gentlemen, China is in mining, in construction, and now in retail business in Africa. The question is, where next and why are they so particular about their presence in Africa? Ladies and gentlemen, I have 3 solid reasons to share with you as to why China is so focused on Africa and why their investment here can only increase. My name is Cyrus, and this is Tumtum Network in Accra, Ghana. Be sure to subscribe and click on the bell for more of my videos. Let's get into it.
Africa Funder is a website which enables you to raise funds from people in the diaspora in order to assist with the completion of projects that would help to foster the growth and development of the continent. Raise funds for a range of diverse projects, whether it be for schools, classroom remodeling, healthcare services, or the next unicorn technology company. Sign up now and allow us to begin this journey together.
I am doing this video for one simple reason. There was a time when South Africa-based Pick n Pay, ShopRite, and Game were dominating in Africa's retail space. It started in the very early days of the 2000s, and there was a lot of movement of South African products across the continent. But in recent times, their supermarkets seem to disappear, ladies and gentlemen, if you have noticed. Ladies and gentlemen, they are being replaced by China malls, one location at a time, and it's happening so fast. If you have been observing, in less than 3 years, specifically from October of 2022, Game's mother company, Mass Mart, announced plans to exit game stores in Ghana, Nigeria, Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania due to ongoing financial losses in those markets. In the same year, they closed all their shops in Nigeria, in Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, and finally, in 2023, they left Ghana. And surprisingly, most of their shops in some of these countries were taken over by China Mall. ShopRite officially exited Nigeria in 2021. They exited Zimbabwe in 2013, left Kenya in 2021, and in the same year left Uganda. And just yesterday, they announced that they are leaving Ghana. Pick n Pay, on the other hand, officially exited the Nigerian market in October 2024, selling its 51% stake in its joint venture to another company. Ladies and gentlemen, one by one, China Mall is taking over the African wholesale and retail space completely. They have outplayed both the Indians, Lebanese, American shops way earlier in the competition. Ladies and gentlemen, they are selling literally everything at low prices and in different varieties, from electronics, homeware, textile, cosmetics, to auto parts. And now, as a matter of fact, they are selling cars, Chinese cars. They are gaining a lot of acceptance on the African market. And just as they are outplaying their competition in the retail business, they are also doing a lot in outplaying their competition in construction and in mining. They are buying out American, Canadian, and Australian mines in Africa. One of the biggest mines in Ghana, called Newmont in the eastern region, just got sold to one Chinese company. There is a company called Khoemacau copper mine in Botswana. It was bought by a Chinese company. And then you have the Lubambe copper mine in Zambia. Same thing. Osino Resources in Namibia. The Ziwa copper cobalt mine in DRC, and Shimaf copper cobalt assets in the DRC, all taken over by Chinese companies. Ladies and gentlemen, in addition to all that, China is by far the leading country constructing roads across Africa. Chinese firms, as of 2022, had built or upgraded nearly 100,000 kilometers of highways across the continent, far more than any other country. China plans to take over the automobile industry in Africa completely in 10 years. So they've targeted 100 dealerships in 20 African countries by 2026. They want to take out the Japanese brands and replace them with BYD. Ladies and gentlemen, don't be surprised to see a Chinese car assembly plant near you very soon. They are in talks with the South African government to resolve their energy crisis. China wants to take over the energy sector of South Africa, and so far it appears it's most likely going to happen. And once that is achieved, that will be their reference point to step into the rest of Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, China is going to own Africa very, very soon. One way or the other, this is about to happen. Already, China is Africa's highest lender. In 2023, China alone accounted for 40% of Africa's bilateral debt, equivalent to roughly $62 billion, and the figure continues to increase. A country like Angola, for instance, owes China $17.8 billion in loans alone. Even Egypt owes China. So China is determined to make a permanent stay in Africa for three main reasons, like I said. And one, the first reason is this: China sees the potential in Africa's growing population. They know what it means in terms of economics to have a large population, because they have one. They are therefore, ladies and gentlemen, making sure they are a part of Africa's rise in order to solidify their permanent stay. Today, Africa is the continent that spends the least in the world, but that could easily change. If Africa's purchasing power increases to just 10% above what we have currently, China gets richer. This is the symmetry they are building. They are interweaving our economy to theirs, so that the increase of our purchasing power means more money to them. They understand we are down low, and that's the worst it can get. What we have ahead will be better than what we have now, and that is what they will add up to their economy. Imagine when China controls the markets of their own population and Africa's market. That's 3 billion people we are talking about who will be under the control of the Chinese government. This is one of China's vision, ladies and gentlemen. The second is obvious. It has to do with our natural resources. They want all the copper and magnesium and cobalt and lithium to feed their battery factories. So they will continue to play the role of a good friend to Africa by way of offering loans of all sorts, so it can be easier for them during negotiations when they want to take any particular resource from us. This is so obvious even at this point. And the final thing is, China is looking for allies. China, just like the West, plays the same game. They want as many countries on their side as possible for many different reasons. One common reason is for voting purposes at the United Nations. They also know that on any given day, their Western trade partners can disappoint them, which the US has already done with the tariffs. And so they will always need a plan B, since they want to continue to hold the title of the world's largest production hub. They therefore, ladies and gentlemen, will continue to invest in Africa, no matter the size of the country or their economy, until their footprint is left everywhere permanently. Ladies and gentlemen, there is only one question I wish to ask you that is watching me today. Where is Africa in all this? Why isn't Africa thinking competition but cooperation when it comes to China? The most essential aspect of our industries are being taken over by a foreign country, and all we see is cooperation and no competition. Will this help us in the long run, ladies and gentlemen? Will we survive like this when all our strategic industries are taken over by a foreign company or country? It is bizarre to me, and I know this isn't going to end well. If nothing is done by Africa to compete, we will eventually have them take over all our farming industries in addition, and determine the type of food we eat and, in effect, how long we live. But all the same, think about these things critically and leave your comments in the comment section below. Thanks for taking time to watch this one. I hope to see you in the next one very soon. Until then, God bless us all. Be sure to subscribe and click on the bell for more of my videos. It is bye-bye for now.